Are you like us? Tired of all the politically correct horseshit on podcasts and in the media? Need a podcast that's funny, smart, and gassy? It's not politically correct. It's just correct. This is the Carolina Underground. Throw that middle finger in the air. Raise them up. Because it's time to get loud, proud, and in your face. Generation X. Generation X. The best generation of all time meets the grit of the South. It's about everything and nothing at all. From current events to woolly boogers to movies to politics. Loud, brash, funny, and never, and I do mean never, predictable. The Carolina Underground with Mark and Mike.
Yo, 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 you heffalump, yo-yos. We're back again on the Carolina Underground. Keep turning up like bad pennies, baby. No matter how long you think you get rid of us, we just popping right back up here. Coming to you live from the replica Batcave with my partner in high crimes and misdemeanors, hidden in the deep, watery depths of Sparkleberry.
Watery depths now, huh? All right.
Well, hey, the cats are dripping.
Yeah, the cat's dripping. That is absolutely true. He's had himself an evening.
He's been caterwauling.
That is the truth. That is the truth. How are you this evening, sir? Go ahead.
Lord, if I was any better, couldn't nobody stand me. Of course, I have to pay most people to put up with me now as it is.
Well, yeah, that's a great segue. I mean, we talked about previously the fun that I was having with Capital One. I think we talked about it before, where they are hell bent to get me to agree to let them to have my information, and I refuse to do that. So they put a fraud lock on my card until Mark Cuban's outfit that I had started my LLC with, Zen Business, put their stuff on. Now, I've tried to cancel the service with Zen Business, and that's one of Mark Cuban's things, and that man's a crook. And they absolutely they're charging me like $400 for nothing. There's no value whatsoever except that they have access to my credit card. But that went through. That's okay.
How'd you think he got to be a bajillionaire?
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of the point that I was bringing up. It's like the laws if they're following the laws, as we saw with Pennsylvania in the election, it's like, oh, well, nobody follows laws anymore. We're just going to ignore this, and we're going to go ahead and count illegal ballots because we don't like the fact that the people want different, they want people that are actually following their desires and trying to maintain the United States as the constitutional republic that it's been for 250 years. But we don't like that, so we're going to do something different, and that's democracy, at least as they see it. But this stuff it's absurd at this point. Again, income tax was a temporary measure to fund World War I, and we're still paying it. So anyway, sorry, I don't want to go.
Boy, it's going to be a nice time around the Thanksgiving dinner table this year, boys and girls.
Well, fortunately, I've only got one person in the family that's completely insane, and she lives out in California, so she won't be here.
Oh, well, I'd tell her we fell off the face of the earth and she ain't invited back never again.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
I ain't a big fan of California.
Me either.
I will mention this, though. Up in Northern California, there is a company called Papa Citrus.
All right.
They have undoubtedly the best oranges I have ever eaten.
Better than Indian River out of Florida?
Way better. You know how when we were kids,
Hmm.
and you could just smell an orange, and they had that smell, and they had that really zesty, citrusy taste, and how now they've just kind of become just bland blobs of orange
Orange
tissue.
colored crap. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
it's because, go
these
ahead.
oranges here remind me of the oranges we used to get when we were kids. They taste like oranges, they smell like oranges, and they're fantastic. They're the best. And if you don't have never had any, I would recommend finding them on Instagram or their website or whatever and ordering some. I think this is the time of year they ship them. I need to hadn't looked lately. I need to order me some, but they are the best, and you will not be disappointed.
Outstanding. That's good to know. Good information, sir.
Well, I figured I'd share it with somebody.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate you taking the time to share it with me at least, and anybody that happens to listen to it.
I watched one of your favorite movies last night.
You did. Which one was that?
I did. The Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, okay.
The
And you've
first
seen it.
one. The first one.
Yeah, you've seen it before. I'm assuming.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right.
But that I gotta had it. That led me into having a discussion. I was talking with a friend this evening, and we got to talking about the Pirates of the Caribbean, the movies, and
Mhm.
all that good stuff. And we, he was talking about. It, he said, "Yeah," he said, "and you can still go visit Port Royal." And I was like, "Well, not really."
Okay.
He goes, "Well, why not? It's still." I looked. It's on the map, and I said, "Yeah, but it ain't quite what it was when you're talking when the
Oh,
pirates were there that you're seeing in the movies."
oh, absolutely not. Yeah. I mean,
Well, I
indoor
mean,
plumbing
because
is big now, and it wasn't then.
well, no, and three-quarters of the city sunk beneath the sea in
Oh, no.
1692.
In 1692.
Yeah, there was a in 1692 there was an earthquake.
Hmm.
When the British colonized the Caribbean
Hmm.
only to chase the Spanish and the French.
Hmm.
Well, at that time, the British Navy and the British Army were not sufficient to protect the area, so Port Royal became for lack of a better word, the capital of the pirate nation.
Right.
And they relied on the pirates to pretty much defend the city. And they built, I think there was Fort James, um, I know Fort James, Fort Charles, and Fort Carlisle down there. There were three ports right around the Port Royal area. And it
Hmm.
was a great area. Don't get me wrong, because it was a deep water port. A lot of ships
Right.
could come in, and a town, I think it was a town of like 2,000 or 3,000 people that at times when ships would in would swell to 8,000.
Hmm.
And of course, mainly like most pirates, that was mostly bars and prostitutes. And as I think we watch these movies and we read the books like Treasure Island, and I think there's a Michael Crichton book out about pirates. I think Black Flag or Pirate Flag or something like that.
Hmm.
But any of these that are the swashbuckling buccaneers,
Hmm.
or you see the Goonies where you got Chunk coming down the cell, "Hey, you guys,"
Right.
and all that. We romanticize this, but I don't think we really understand what a hard life that was. I mean, that was a really hard life.
Well, yeah, seafaring life. One of the things that I shared with my girlfriend this weekend was the story, "The Heart of the Sea." It's the story of the Essex that led to Herman Melville writing Moby Dick,
Right,
and that really did happen. The thing
right.
about
I,
sperm whales is that as they get older, when they get to a certain age, they start losing the pigment in their skin, and so there was an extremely old, large, and aggressive bull sperm whale uh, that wrecked many different uh, that attacked and disabled several different whaling vessels.
Mm-hmm.
And the Essex, when she was out there actually looking for uh, any, I mean, they had hunted the species to the point where they were hard to find in the normal fishing grounds. They'd killed a significant number of them. So
Mm-hmm.
they went out to the offshore fishing grounds or offshore whaling grounds.
Back to
And
where we're not the top of the food chain.
exactly, especially when you're on a wooden boat that's powered by wind. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, so, and they had spoken to a Spanish or Hispanic captain who had just lost a significant number of his crew. And I believe he had lost his vessel tangling with this creature as well, but they were arrogant and ignored him and went out there anyway. And it's a great movie and relatively historically accurate. I mean, I'm sure they
Actually, I
embellished a
think I
bit.
have seen that.
Yeah, Heath Ledger, I believe,
Yeah,
is
I
one of the
have seen it.
stars.
But
But
I
there's
will say this: Herman Melville, God bless him. That I have tried, and I
yeah,
read voraciously. I
oh
read a lot.
yeah,
Moby Dick is one book that I have never in my life been able to read from beginning to completion.
yeah, it is. It's a tough read because he spends so much time in giving
Call me
detail.
Ishmael.
Yeah, in giving you the details of what
I
they were
thought
doing.
J.R.R. Tolkien was bad about giving you the details of every freaking tree branch.
Right, right. Well, and
But
the
he
thing
ain't
about
got
that,
nothing on Melville.
that is 100% true. But the big difference in between Melville and Tolkien is that the stuff that Melville was writing about was real, was actual stuff that they
Well,
did.
there's another difference.
Yeah,
About $400 billion worth of sales.
that's true too. That's true too.
Yeah. I mean, and sometimes they do those epic rap battles of history where they do parody stuff and they did one with George R. R. Martin and versus Tolkien,
Yeah.
and one of the lines is because they had cast Sean Astin as Samwise was ditch the Goonie and cast some boobies. But,
Well, and again, that's one of the things. I mean, I enjoyed the Game of Thrones, not the books. I did not read the books, but I did enjoy the
I
HBO
have read the
series.
books. I did try to watch the series. I couldn't get into it.
Really? Well, so, and my point being, and I haven't read,
Well, the problem with Game of Thrones for me is I think why everybody else likes it is he kills everybody.
no, I think the main
And
reason everybody likes it is you get really good looking and attractive women to get naked on screen.
yeah, and odds are if they're at that level of inbredness in the royal houses, they ain't that good looking.
Yeah, no, they would be, they'd have all kind of
They'd like
deformities.
have cloven hooves and stuff like that.
Well, that's kind of where all these inbred royal houses are still to this day, if you'll pardon me. But that's my personal opinion. I need to keep my mouth shut on that. But
Well, they ain't never stopped you before.
no, at that. Well, speaking of not stopping me before, one of the things I
Uh-oh.
was going to
Here's
bring up.
soapbox number 2, boys and girls.
Well, so just the other day I was looking, and I don't recall exactly where this woman lived, but she uh, had the audacity to allow her 10-year-old, 10 years old. Okay, so we're talking, second, third grade or something like that. Maybe a little older. It's been a minute since my kids were that young. Um, 10 years old, allowed them to walk to the store with their own money to get some stuff and things like that. Well, she is now
Well, now
currently,
wait a minute. What part of the country are they in?
I don't recall, but they, are, the Department of Social Services and the government basically has piled on her and is, they're for reckless endangerment and stuff like that and whatnot. Now I had my ex-wife was a drug addict and I would come home and find her passed out with the kids trying to cook their own dinner when they were, 5 and 6 years old, and she was not considered a bad parent. But and I mean, I used to go to the store when I was in first grade. I mean, I rode my bicycle back and forth to school
Hmm.
several miles because it was
Well,
too
I
far to
mean,
walk.
I got off the bus by myself. We went,
Yeah,
if we wanted to go to the store, we could. There wasn't nothing stopping us.
yeah, well, except
That's
having
why
money.
I wasn't sure where you were going, because depending on what part of the country you're in, I could still see that being something that could happen today.
Well, that's the point. It should be something that can happen today. But, the government is doing its best to make it a place where you can't let your child out of your sight for more
Hmm.
than 30 seconds because there's so many damn criminals that they brought into the country from other countries because we apparently don't make enough of them here. And so they'll let the violent criminals, and of course it was Alvin Bragg, uh, uh, who wants to put the current president under the jail for having the audacity to request a loan which he paid back, no less. And then you've got, well, no, sorry, that was Letitia James. It gets
Yeah.
difficult for me to separate these
To
crooks.
separate the clowns in the clown show.
Yeah, and so they want to destroy a man for following the laws that exist, but they'll let a man who is mentally ill and wants to kill people. They don't want to have them in jail. They want them out terrorizing the public. I mean, this stuff is just so absurd at this point. It's gone beyond
We
absurd.
told you you can't make it up.
Yeah.
Hey, and I'll
So,
tell you, we hurt the environment last week, baby.
uh-oh, what'd we do? I wasn't aware.
Well, you got me started on that heifer on the View, and we burned a lot of gas in the General Lee.
I got you started.
Well, she just chaps my ass.
Well, there's a bunch of them that chap mine. I'm right there with you. But,
Well, I mean, and it's like, really, you're going to, and I don't know. We're going to stop because I'm going to end up cussing again, and then we're going to burn more gas, and then we're going to do all this stuff. But, that is just a microcosm of what's wrong with the world today. Of course, now the heads are exploding again
oh, please
because
tell me about what.
Comcast has decided that news media like MSNBC and all that stuff,
Mhm.
they're dumping them. They're getting rid of them. They're selling
Yeah,
them.
yeah, the
And
propaganda media.
Elon Musk has floated the idea of buying MSNBC.
Interesting.
And Joe Rogan has even piled on and said that he would like to be a host and take Rachel Maddow's place.
That would be utterly amazing. I'd love to see some actual media because again, what has happened over the past 40 years is when you get some money, you buy a media outlet so that they'll write good news stories about you. And it just turns it into propaganda. So,
Is that why we always get smeared everywhere on the Tickle Talks and the X-Men's and all this stuff about us being uncouth and redneck and hillbillies because
I
we don't
think
own
it's
a media outlet?
I think it's because we're uncouth redneck hillbillies, but that's just me personally. I kind of like being uncouth redneck and
Hey,
hillbilly,
I will guarantee you this: we may not uh, have the manners, but at least we'll take the dishes out of the sink before we piss in it.
Well, there you go. I mean, again, and you know, we do have the manners. That's the thing that just kills me because it's if we're being rude to you, it usually starts with "Oh, bless your heart."
Well, and that reminds me, I was in a. I'm not going to tell you where I was at because I'm kind of ashamed that I went there.
Uh-oh.
But I was in this establishment,
All right.
and I was looking for something. And granted, it's been a long time since I've been peopling. You know, normally I sit at my desk and working, or sit at my desk at the house or at the office, and I sit there geniusing coming up with shit and doing stuff, because
There you
that's
go.
just what I do. I just sit there geniusing,
All
and I
right.
don't do a lot of peopling because people really get on my nerves.
I can understand that. They get upon my
And
nerves too.
this little smart aleck come across with something kind of referring to the fact that maybe I ain't got the strongest willpower to push away from the table when there's a slab of pecan pie or something like that left over.
Okay.
And I looked at that rascal and I said, "What'd you say?" Now keep in mind where I'm from, when I ask you, "What'd you say?" that is not an invitation for you to repeat it. What it means is, do you know Jesus? Because your ass is getting ready to meet him.
Hmm.
And you know that because you're from the South too.
Yep.
Just like Pop.
Hmm.
We'll pop you upside the head with a Coca-Cola bottle.
That's right.
But that rascal come across me. I didn't kill him. I wanted to, but I didn't kill him. But I will tell you this. I give him a word, and it wasn't pretty.
Well, and again, it's a whole thing about
Did I have
mind.
a did that story have a point?
I'm not entirely sure, but my point on
I
that
don't either.
story is very simply mind your own business.
That's right.
Okay. I
If
mean,
I want to buy my baby puppy dog a Gucci winter coat, that is my business, not yours.
absolutely. I mean, and this is the whole thing. We've kind of got this society now where a whole bunch of folks seem to think that they have a right to tell other people how to live their lives
Well,
while
I
they're
blame
not, while they're
participation
screwing
trophies.
up their own. But go ahead.
Well, I blame participation trophies and social media because when we were coming up as Generation Xers, if we said something to somebody, it wasn't typing behind a keyboard
Oh,
in the
that's true.
safety of our home or our room. You had to be willing to get your butt whooped if you run your mouth, because you was going to have to run it to their face, and they was going to see you eventually.
Well, and I
And
agree.
the problem is too many of these people today have had the luxury of being able to run their mouth without getting their cap peeled a couple times.
Oh yeah, we've had a whole bunch of effing around and not a whole lot of
Finding
finding
out.
out.
That's right.
Now, but herein, I blame elves, which is the educated, and I actually call them O-elves because they're overeducated liberal females. They're educated beyond their level of
Oh, I
understanding.
was fixing to say what Sandy's little helpers have done.
Yep. And so, and they're, and the liberal agenda, that's what I blame because again, in grammar school, they'd let you until, they'd let you tussle on the playground up to a point. Now, at the point when somebody started getting hurt, they'd separate you, but they'd
Well,
let
I mean,
you,
bleeding. I mean, you
yeah,
can whap each other a couple times, but and
yeah.
that's how you always did. You just looked at somebody and pretended they was a balloon, and if you pop them hard enough, they're gonna go away.
Well, but again, that's the point. But you learn then. Eventually you learn that that violence doesn't solve the problem unless you're willing to take that son of a gun completely out and introduce them to Jesus. But
Oh, I'm ready. That rascal at that store. I'm ready.
no, I follow you. But again,
I'm tired. I
uh,
done a lot of work today.
all right.
I
Well,
did. I had
good
to
for
put
you.
iron in my tires.
Oh my goodness. I had to put iron in my tires too. Now that's another one that's aggravating. Now you got to pay for the dadgum air machines.
Oh no, I bought me one of these little
Compressors.
things. It's the best thing that ever come out of my marriage. It's a little cobalt thing that plugs into the power port where you plug your phone charger and stuff in.
Yep.
And then you set it and pump it up, and it pumps it right up to the right thing and turns it off. Best thing that ever come out. I like it.
Yes, yeah, those are good.
It's got 2 thumbs up. Fat boy approved.
You're still paying for air. You're just paying less.
How am I paying for it?
You had to buy the compressor.
No, I didn't.
Oh, somebody bought it for you.
Yeah, it was a wedding gift.
Oh, okay. There you go. Well, there you
See, I
go.
said it was the best, one of the best things that come out of my marriage.
Okay, now I got you. Well, somebody else is paying for your
That's right.
air.
Hell, that makes me sound like a Democrat.
There you go. That it does.
No, but you know that I want to go. I'm my ADHD's kicking in. I'm back on Port Royal now.
Oh, back on Port Royal.
Seems like National Geographic did a. Was it is it National Geographic that does the series to where they like roll the water back?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, well, so it
It
must have
might
been
be
National
Discovery,
Geographic.
but yeah, it was one of them.
Well,
Yeah.
that's one of the two. Anyway, but I remember they did a show about Port Royal,
Hmm.
and they were talking about this, and it's like, you know, it was the sand actually liquefied under the city,
Yeah, they
and
do
I
that.
mean they just sunk intact straight down,
Hmm.
and that they were at the water tables at 2 foot where they were building the city.
Hmm.
So, and the Fort Carlisle and Fort James were completely destroyed and lost,
Hmm.
and Fort Charles was the only one that survived. But just like, what would it be like to where you wake up in the morning, you having your breakfast, you going about your business, doing your thing, and we know it was at 11:43 a.m. because they have found stop pocket watches in the sand.
Hmm.
And all of a sudden, your world ends. And it wasn't just an earthquake, because you know what follows earthquakes.
Tsunamis.
Partic- right, particularly in coastal areas.
Hmm.
And I think they said, they speculated that it wasn't one, but two or three tsunamis that hit that totally obliterated the city.
Hmm. Well, it's like the song says. Well, you wake up in the morning, you hear the church bell ring. Ain't no food upon the table. It's always the same old thing.
Well, that is true. It feels like it anyway. I just got a hankering for a Pop Tart.
I was watching a movie the other day, and you know when they get to this point where in the movie where people are, making their confessions because they all think they're gonna die,
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and it had the best line I've ever heard of that, which one of them says, "It's me. I'm the one that gets up in the morning and licks all the frosting off of the Pop Tarts and puts them back in the box."
Oh, no, that right there is a death wish right there. He's going to die first.
Oh, but I thought that was a great comment.
That is funny.
Sorry.
Well, we are both dog lovers. You like
Mhm.
cats. I'm not a big fan of cats, but we're both dog lovers.
That's true.
And you kind of took a ultimate holistic route and started making your own dog food.
Mhm. Yep.
Well, I am not that expeditious because my stove still has the tags and stuff on it. It ain't never been used. The only two things we do in my kitchen are make reservations and order pizza.
And
I
don't
thought
lick
about
all
putting it.
and not
I
lick
don't
all the
lick the
frosting.
frosting off the Pop Tarts. I thought about getting rid of the stove and the refrigerator and putting in vending machines.
Mm.
It'd be just the same difference. But
Yeah.
I, am always on the lookout for scientifically proven based dog foods to, keep the little baby dog happy, healthy, and as living the longest life as she can, because I ain't cooking. I don't cook for me, and I ain't gonna go. Well, if it would come closer me cooking for her than me cooking for me.
Understood. Mhm.
But I have run across dog food where they have actually cracked the formula, I think, for probably one of the most holistic and healthy dog foods that I have ever seen.
Okay.
And they are using super fats from coconuts, cocoa omegas, and omega 3s in conjunction with omega 6s. And I mean, I even read this guy's book on dog food studies. Now, let me tell you, dog food studies don't make for really good reading.
I believe that entirely. Go
But
ahead.
the dog food is called Yum Wolf,
Okay.
and we are not being sponsored by Yum Wolf. So don't take it that they're paying us to say this, because they're not. I'm telling you, I took what I read the book, I read the studies, I did this thing, and it says if in 21 days your dog will have a better coat, the allergies will have disappeared, and all of that, or your money back.
Okay.
So I said, okay, what have I got to lose,
Mhm.
right? And dog food, and when you get into this line of dog food, um, the company Flossie was eating was it was supposed to be a high end food,
Mhm.
but then I got started reading about all these seed oils and how
Mhm.
bad they are for us and how bad they are for dogs
Mhm.
and all this stuff, and I just said, I can do better,
Mhm.
and so I did the challenge. We are not 21 days in; we are 14 days in.
Mhm.
The chewing the feet, all of that stuff is gone.
Hmm.
She haven't chewed her feet in 2 or 3 weeks now.
Well, and again, that's the whole point about Robert Kennedy wanting, being the HHS secretary. Well, here's one of the, well, I'm going to jump off of this, but again,
Okay.
they're putting so much crud in our food and in our pet food. And again, this is a problem a friend of mine was having with his chickens. They were putting so much garbage in the chicken feed that if you bought the chicken feed from Purina or places like that, your hens would stop laying. And
Mm.
so
Well,
he changed
it's
his
funny you
food
should
and they
say
start laying
Purina.
again. Yeah, go
Well,
ahead.
it's funny you should say Purina because, when we started with the allergy road,
Hmm. Hmm.
the vet told me to put her on Purina Pro Plan.
Hmm.
Well, one they told us to put on, I research everything first. I'm
Right,
particular, like I'll sit here and eat a box of zebra cake rolls while I'm reading about healthy dog food.
right.
But,
I
you
understand.
know, but they changed the recipes in a lot of these Purina dog foods, and the one they were having me wanting me to put her on,
Hmm.
it this was in the end of June, at the beginning of July. I was seeing all these reports to where, and now they've had to come across and start paying people because they were changed the recipe and killing dogs.
Yeah, see, that's what they do. Again, they start making this stuff, and then the accountants get hold of everything and go, hey, we can save a whole bunch of money if we take this good, nutritious stuff out and put a whole bunch of this chemical crap that's
And
made out of
and bone
petroleum.
meal and
Yeah,
meat meal and
yeah,
all these
absolutely.
flax seeds oils and all
Right,
this stuff, and it's like it's just crazy. And it's like, why is it that, and it's funny you say RFK because I think that right now is probably going to be one of the hardest ones to get confirmed out of everybody he's nominated, other than Matt Gaetz, since he's dropped out. But why is it that if you look at a candy bar that's sold in the United States
right.
and you look at the exact same candy bar that is sold in the UK, I can pronounce the ingredients on the one sold in the UK.
Right.
To me, that doesn't make any sense. Why is it so much cheaper over here for them to put all them chemicals in? Because if they're making it over there and they're essentially selling it for the same price, are they just trying to kill us off?
Pretty much. That's what our government is trying to do at this particular point in time. It is wipe us. I mean, again, our government has been subverted by the globalists. And the globalists are communists. Again, if you haven't read Karl Marx, I do recommend it. And he states in his, in his, description that
He's
communism
satanic too.
communism cannot ever exist until it is the entire planet. And so the communists have as one of their goals the destruction of Western civilization so that communism, true global communism, can occur. Okay. And
Uh-huh.
now, but the problem, and here's the whole problem. Communism sounds great on paper. And if you read Karl Marx, when you get through with it, you'll probably be thinking, yeah, it's not a bad idea. The problem is it does not take into account the fact that about 10% of the population are flat out psychopaths. And then probably another 20% or so, go in the direction of just sociopaths. And those people agglutinate to positions of power because they want to not only control their life, they enjoy inflicting pain on others because they don't have empathy. And
Mhm.
so when you get those kind of people at the top rung, everybody in the lower rungs, their lives get ruined. By the way, are you familiar with the Stanford prison experiment?
Didn't we discuss this last week
Did we discuss it last week? That there's uh,
about the documentary
the
on Disney Plus?
documentary. Okay, pardon me. My apologies. We discussed it last week. I hate to bring that up
Well,
again.
you briefly touched on it there at the end, but
Oh, okay. Well, so I highly recommend watching that documentary. Okay, because that's the one of the things that is it is a part of behavioral science, and it is accepted as gospel and everything like that. And it was really an extremely flawed experiment that was
well, as most of
predisposed
them
to
really
provide the
are.
results that they wanted. At exactly my point. And that's the whole problem that we got with a lot of the science that we are following is that it has confirmation bias is built into the experiment so that they're guaranteed to get the results that they want.
Right. And I mean, and that's fixed in whether it's experiments or it's polling, because you
Right.
can skew the polling depending on how you word the question.
Absolutely. Yeah. You can ask a question in such a fashion that you can't get an answer that you don't want.
Right. And it's like, and if you don't believe us, there's a show the British do. Their TV shows are so much better.
Oh yeah.
But they did a show called Yes Minister and Yes Prime Minister, and it's a guy that starts out as like the minister of the interior or domestic affairs or something, and then he eventually becomes prime minister.
Mhm.
But that's one of the things they're talking about, particularly when he becomes prime minister, is he's going to scrap buying the new nuclear shiny toys, put it into conventional forces, bring back conscription, and he solves unemployment, defense problems, and all that in one fell swoop. And it goes through the exercise of changing the questions to get the desired response from the poll to influence the decisions that are being made.
Absolutely. Mhm.
But it's just, and that is a hilarious show. I mean, it really is. Um, but it never ceases to amaze me the depths people will go to show their own ignorance and their own stupidity.
Oh yeah. That's it. Yeah, that's humanity for you. But it's and well, on that note, do you reckon that they're going to succeed in starting World War III by firing U.S. missiles into
Well, the first
Russia?
ones that have already started is Russia's already told them the missiles from the UK opens up the UK to be retaliated against.
Hmm.
And that, of course, they've told us the same thing. And then the launching of those new supersonic missiles, I think, has given everybody a stop to think moment because, Vladimir Putin, you can say a lot of things about him.
Hmm.
And on the outside of us looking in, and you see about how an opposition leader was put in prison,
Hmm.
the majority of the Russians still support him.
Oh yeah.
And regardless of what you think
Hmm.
and what the media tries to tell you,
Right.
they still support him.
Right.
And I don't want to be the bearer of bad news to the DEI crowd, but Ukraine was part of Russia to begin with
Hmm.
from the very beginning.
Yep.
It was all of that was part of the Russian Empire.
Hmm.
So I look at this as a squabble between cousins and none of our business.
And you were
But I do
100%
have a
correct.
feeling is that if World War III is going to start, it ain't going to wage long because I guarantee you, I do not think that's going to be on the agenda of Donald Trump is sending American forces to fight for pissant little Ukraine that has no business being in NATO for the simple fact that there's no reason for NATO to exist anymore.
Well, so again, it's like when you think of Chicago, Do you think Chicago politics, when you think of Chicago
Cheesecake. Mm.
politics, what do
No,
you,
I think about cheesecake when you say
no, I
Chicago.
said Chicago politics. When you think about
Oh,
Chicago politics, do you think of what is the first thing that comes to your mind? What's the first
Mayor
word?
Daley.
Well, what comes to my mind immediately is corruption from top
Oh,
to
well,
bottom.
yeah. Well, I mean, he was the definition of corruption. So, I mean, I
Yeah,
guess it's the same thing. Yeah.
yeah. So when I think of Ukraine, the first word that comes to my mind is corruption. The thing that comes to my mind is money laundering. Ukraine is nothing but a money laundering scheme
For the
for
Bidens.
the
And they
Bidens.
want this continued war
Oh
so
yeah.
it can destroy all the records,
Mhm.
just like the Pentagon can't account for $836 billion.
Right. And that was the you're referring
Hey, but
to the pre
hey, but
nine
here,
eleven when
don't take you off the ball, because the last time they couldn't account for all these billions of dollars,
right.
an airplane flew into it supposedly, but all the security video looked an awful lot like a supersonic missile.
Yep, absolutely it did. And that's what it was. There was no airplane wreckage found. Yeah, it's hard to crash an airplane without there being aircraft wreckage.
Well, that too, and the thing, I can buy the buildings, I get it, and the plane in the field it crashed, I got it, and
Hmm.
I'm not like an Alex Jones where I'm denying something happened,
Right.
but the Pentagon, you're talking about camel jockeys
Hmm.
that are still wiping their ass with their right hand and eating with their left hand. I mean, let's
Hmm.
just be
Yeah.
realistic here.
Hmm.
These are not sophisticated people.
Hmm.
These people took flying lessons. None of them had flown big jets before.
Right.
Planes they learned on were small.
Hmm.
We had some of the best pilots in the Navy, out of FedEx, UPS, out of every major airline, and not one of them could have controlled the airplane to hit the Pentagon at the angle that it was hit. So you
Hmm.
can't tell me that the Pentagon was hit by a dad blame airplane. And the second thing is, with all of those security cameras that are around Washington, D.C., you
Hmm.
can't even spit on the street without them watching you.
Hmm.
There is no security footage of an airplane hitting the Pentagon. That dog don't hunt.
Oh no, I'm right there with you. And I mean, again, it was one of those that being a pilot and being a small aircraft pilot, I'm here to tell you, there is so much going on that you have to look at even in a small plane. If you have not been trained on the avionics and everything in one of those large planes, you're not going to be able to make it do anything. Now, there is the possibility that you just plain dumb luck. Okay. But again, the whole, the things that still set me off about 9/11 is Building 7, which collapsed at the same time as the towers did, and nothing hit it, and it
Right.
imploded just like the towers did. Why? Why? And then of course you've got
Well,
the
and
whole
the
thing
fact
about the
that
fact that yeah that
well,
the
building 7 was standing, and you had a BBC reporter reporting that it had fallen,
Mhm.
and you can clearly see it still standing in the background behind her because she was
Right.
down there.
Yep. And then, of course, they've also got the footage where people were being escorted out of Building 7 and whatnot like that, with the alarms going off, and I mean, it was definitely there was chicanery involved. But again, we look back, there's always been chicanery and stuff like that because there's a significant amount of evidence that uh, December 7th, 1941, a day that will live in infamy, that
Hmm.
there was plenty of advanced warning, and it's questionable as to whether that advanced warning got to the people that needed to know, if they believed it, if they were competent, if they were incompetent. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff going on, but you just never know. But again, that goes back to the whole thing. You take what do we do in this country? We take an attorney that's not smart enough or capable enough to make it as an attorney, we elect them into public office and let them make up the laws, okay, and and vote on their own paycheck and run the damn country. Now, how stupid is that? Hell, if I had a good
Only
lawyer,
in America, baby. Only in America.
if I had a good lawyer, which I personally don't know any, in my opinion, if I had a good lawyer, I wouldn't put him in charge of running a business other than a law firm, because they're just argumentative, trying to split hair type people, and that doesn't really get the job done in anything except an altercation.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's
anyway,
true.
but yeah, that's the whole thing. We got to get these yahoos out of office and get the government
Well,
back to
maybe
of the
this
people, for
department.
the people, and by the people. Go ahead, sir.
Well, the only thing we can say is the best shot you're going to have is with Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, the
Doge.
Department of Efficient. But
Hmm.
I guess we're at this point, we're just going to have to wait and see.
Well, that's the thing. I'm just kind of sitting here on pins and needles, waiting to see exactly how much damage the current administration and the swamp are going to be able to accomplish before the Trump administration comes into office. And then, of course, they're going to blame it all on Trump, despite the fact that they did it
Well,
to
but
begin
I
with.
think the problem with that now is I don't think that's going to work because they've been blaming everything on Trump for the last 8 years and it ain't worked.
Yeah, I agree, but I'm just waiting to see. And it's
And that's
astounding.
what we're doing.
Yep, and it's astounding to me. I still know people that are completely drunk on this Kool-Aid that has been shoved down their throat on CNN and MSNBC, etc. And they think that Trump's going to destroy the entire world. He's still a threat to democracy. It's amazing, utterly amazing.
Well, evidently the rest of the country don't agree with you because they voted for him.
I agree. I mean, again, it's the whole thing is, this is what happens when you have an election that's not that makes it difficult to cheat.
Well, and the only statistic I needed to see in this entire election
Mhm.
was the only states that went for Kamala
Yep.
were states that do not require voter
Voter
ID.
ID. Yep. Exactly.
And that right there is, we don't need to say anything else, because I think you should have to prove that you are a citizen for the ultimate right of citizenry, which is to vote.
Absolutely.
And with that, that's the snout to the curly tail and everything in between. And we gone.
Have a good evening.
All right, you crazy bunch of motherfuckers. Wait, can we say mother? Anyway, you've been listening to the Carolina Underground. It isn't politically correct, it's just correct. Our motto is, if you can't go balls deep, don't go at all. Actually, that's not our motto, and I'm sorry, I don't even know what that meant. All right, we gotta go. We hope you enjoyed the show. And if you didn't, we hope it really pissed you off. Follow us on Twitter at Carolina UNDGRND Underground, get it? Or drop us an email at Carolina UNDGRND, get it? At northstate.net. We want to hear from you. Y'all be cool. See you next time on Carolina Underground.